Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We begin our class with Kitab Al-Fatihah. A'udzubillahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to our virtual class for Info 2201 Multimedia Technology course. I hope everybody is doing fine and excited enough to be in this classroom. I'm sorry boys and girls, because I can only appear as an animated version of Madam Sue. This is a kind of special version of myself and hopefully you're going to like it better. Remember, do not sleep with your eyes open, okay? Our topic for virtual class today is the internet and multimedia. These are the content of our virtual class for today. Firstly is the history of internet. Secondly, the internet working. And finally, the World Wide Web and HTML. The first topic is the history of internet. In this topic, you are going to watch an interesting video that will explain to you the chronology of the internet invention.
This episode of Life Noggin was brought to you by Audible. Hey there, welcome to Life Noggin. Thanks to this wonderful thing called the internet, you are watching this video right now. But how did the internet get to where it is today? There is so much internet history that we couldn't possibly get to everything in this short of a video, so we're definitely gonna have to make a second one. Anyway, let's get started. The internet actually got its start over 50 years ago, and computers back then filled up entire rooms. Scientists and researchers used it for years to communicate during the Cold War. It was useful because if one computer went down, the others wouldn't follow. In 1962, a scientist named J.C.R. Licklider proposed the idea of a network of computers that could talk to one another. In 1969, the first ever message was sent from one computer to another over the ARPANET, the government's computer network at the time. ARPANET stands for Advanced Research Projects Agency. One was located in a research lab in UCLA and the other at Stanford. All the message said was log in, and it didn't fail to crash the network. Stanford only received the first 2 letters of the message, but hey, you gotta start somewhere. By the end of the year, only 4 computers were connected to this network. In 1971, the University of Hawaii's Aloha Net was added, followed by various networks in London and Norway 2 years later. Also happening in 1971, Ray Tomlinson was developing the first system to send mail back and forth between the users of ARPANET. This would eventually be called electronic mail, or email for short. The @ symbol was used to tell a person's name and the host name apart. With all of the networks floating around, there needed to be a way for all of the computers on them to communicate with other networks. This is where computer scientist named Vinton Cerf comes in. He invented a way to introduce computers across the globe to each other in a virtual space. This invention was called Transmission Control Protocol, or TCP, which was followed by Internet Protocol, or IP. In the 80s, scientists used Cerf's protocol to send data back and forth, but the 90s is where it really all began. In 1991, a computer programmer named Tim Berners-Lee invented the World Wide Web. This wasn't just a data sharing space for scientists anymore, this was an entire network of information that was accessible to anyone with an internet connection. Now, you're using a browser right now to watch this video, and some of the popular ones are Firefox, Google Chrome, and Safari, but in 1992, Urwise was created. Urwise was an internet browser and the first to have a graphical interface. A few browsers came before and after, but in 1993, Mosaic was created, and it would popularize surfing the web. Mosaic influenced many of the browsers to follow, including Netscape Navigator in 1994. This became the most popular web browser at the time, accounting for 90% of the web usage in 1995. In the early 90s, companies like AOL and CompuServe were starting to provide dial-up internet access. Dial-up is a method of connecting to the internet via a telephone line. Your telephone line was plugged into a modem and the other end was plugged into the phone jack. There was a period in history where you couldn't use your telephone and the internet at the same time. Without the internet, we obviously wouldn't have things like Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, but way more importantly, we wouldn't be able to access information in seconds. We wouldn't be able to communicate with people from around the world, share ideas, and educate those who might not get a chance elsewhere. Also, without the internet, I'd actually have to talk to someone when I order a pizza, which, by the way, was the first thing ever purchased on the internet. How would your life be different without the internet? Let us know in the comment section below. This episode of Life Noggin is brought to you by Audible. Go to audible.com/lifenoggin to get a 30-day free trial and one free audiobook download of your choice. If you want to learn even more about the internet, we recommend this amazing book, Tubes, A Journey to the Center of the Internet. Make sure you come back every Monday for a brand new video. And if you want even more Life Noggin, check out these other episodes and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Links are below. I'm Blocko. This has been Life Noggin. Don't forget to keep on thinking.
The second topic is the internet working. Okay guys, first of all, you need to know that internet working is the practice of connecting a computer network with other networks through the use of gateways that provide a common method of routing. The resulting system of interconnected network is called an internet work, or simply an internet. Okay guys, you need to know that internet working is a combination of the words inter and networking, not internet and working or international network. No. For your information, the most notable example of internet working is the internet, the network of networks based on many underlying hardware technologies, but unified by an internet working protocol standard. I know that everybody already know about this topic. You have learned about the internet and network in other subjects like MIS or information security and data communication in business. Several local area networks or LAN can be interconnected using gateways and routers to form a wide area network or WAN. LANs and WANs can be connected to the internet through a server that provides internet software and physical.
Networking is the word people use when they're talking about connecting computers together so they can share data with each other and all connect to the internet at the same time. Let's take a closer look at the key components that make up a simple, easy to set up network. Think of a network as something similar to your body's central nervous system. At the top of the network is a brain that handles all the traffic coming through. This is called a router. The brain is connected to a spine that sends signals throughout your network. This device is called a switch, and it distributes signals to all of your computers and devices via network cables. Now let's check out each of the components of a wired network in more detail. We'll start with the router. A router has a smart little computer inside that identifies all of the computers and devices on your network and assigns a unique number to each one. Techie people call this an IP address. A router also connects to the internet outside your home via a modem that can be provided by your DSL or cable internet provider. A router is always at work, managing the tons and tons of information your computers and devices send and receive, and controlling which computers and devices get what information and when. So how does a router actually send information from the internet to your computers and devices? And how does it enable your computers to share information with each other? The answer lies with that device we mentioned earlier, a switch. A switch sends traffic through your network to the places it needs to go. Every Netgear home router has a switch with 4 ports built right into it. You can also get wireless routers from Netgear that use radio signals to do the same thing as a switch. But these still have those 4 ports built into them, so you can use wires with them too. When you're buying a router for use in a wired network, pay attention to the speed of the built-in switch. The fastest switches are called gigabit, and they're perfect for applications like streaming video in your home. Meanwhile, routers with switches called fast Ethernet are great for essential tasks like web surfing, email, and online gaming. Now say you have more than 4 items you'd like to plug into a router. You need more ports. The solution is easy. You'll need an additional switch, which again is that thing that's already built into your router. In this case, though, you just need the switch portion and not another router, because your network doesn't need 2 brains after all. Netgear has switches with as few as 5 ports, as well as some that feature 24 ports or more. Once again, if you need the fastest speeds, go for a gigabit switch. Your SmartyPants Netgear router will recognize these new connections and start sending data to them right away. Here's one more thing to keep in mind. Some people often confuse a switch with a related device called a hub, which is obsolete. You just need to know that hubs were replaced by switches because switches do the same thing, but with a lot more speed and smarts. A router, a switch, and network cables all come together to create a fast and reliable wired network that works a lot like your body's nervous system. Fortunately, you don't have to be super brainy to understand how it all works.
Topic 3. The World Wide Web and HTML. This is the most interesting topic of all. Okay, under this chapter 11, I hope everybody's enjoyed it because you're going to watch another interesting video about www.
The World Wide Web, where you're likely watching this video, is used by millions of people every day for everything from checking the weather, ordering food, and chatting with friends, to raising funds, sharing news, or starting revolutions. We use it from our computers, our phones, even our cars. It's just there, all around us, all the time. But what is it exactly? Well, first of all, the World Wide Web is not the Internet, even though the terms are often used interchangeably. The Internet is simply the way computers connect to each other in order to share information. When the Internet first emerged, computers actually made direct calls to each other. Today, networks are all around us, so computers can communicate seamlessly. The communication enabled through the Internet has many uses, such as email, file transfer, and conferencing. But the most common use is accessing the World Wide Web. Think of the web as a bunch of skyscrapers, each representing a web server, a computer always connected to the Internet, specifically designed to store information and share it. When someone starts a website, they are renting a room in this skyscraper, filling it with information and linking that information together in an organized way for others to access. The people who own these skyscrapers and rent space in them are called web hosts, but anyone can set up a web server with the right equipment and a bit of know-how. There's another part to having a website without which we would be lost in the city with no way of finding what we need. This is the website address, which consists of domain names. Just like with a real-life address, a website address lets you get where you want to go. The information stored in the websites is in web languages, such as HTML and JavaScript. When we find the website we're looking for, our web browser is able to take all the code on the site and turn it into words, graphics, and videos. We don't need to know any special computer languages because the web browser creates a graphic interface for us. So in a lot of ways, the World Wide Web is a big virtual city where we communicate with each other in web languages, with browsers acting as our translators. And just like no one owns a city, no one owns the web. It belongs to all of us. Anyone can move in and set up shop. We might have to pay an internet service provider to gain access, a hosting company to rent web space, or a registrar to reserve our web address. Like utility companies in a city, these companies provide crucial services, but in the end, not even they own the web. But what really makes the web so special lies in its very name. Prior to the web, we used to consume most information in a linear fashion. In a book or newspaper article, each sentence was read from beginning to end, page by page, in a straight line until you reached the end. But that isn't how our brains actually work. Each of our thoughts is linked to other thoughts, memories, and emotions in a loose, interconnected network, like a web. Tim Berners-Lee, the father of the World Wide Web, understood that we needed a way to organize information that mirrored this natural arrangement. And the web accomplishes this through hyperlinks. By linking several pages within a website or even redirecting you to other websites to expand on information or ideas immediately as you encounter them, hyperlinks allow the web to operate along the same lines as our thought patterns. The web is so much a part of our lives because in content and structure, it reflects both the wider society and our individual minds. And it connects those minds across all boundaries, not only ethnicity, gender, and age, but even time and space.
That's all our virtual class for today. With that, We end our class with Tasbih Kifara and Suratul As. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Created using Powtoon.